Welcome to Songs in the House.
Our first Songs in the House.
I'm Ben Feinstein.
And I'm Debbie Feinstein.
And this is Songs in the House. This is based on a little YouTube show that Seth Rudetsky and James Wesley have been doing with Broadway stars during this coronavirus pandemic. And we thought it would be a great idea to do it with some of our community stars in Lewisboro. So this is our first one.
Yes. Yes, and all the while raising funds for White Plains Hospital frontline workers. The doctors, the nurses, they've all been working tirelessly, taking care of COVID-19 patients, and we are so grateful and thankful to all they're doing. So we're hoping that this fundraiser will raise some funds for them. Also, on every show, we're going to have our very own Bruce Sachs, doctor and musical theater expert, who's going to come on and give us some anecdotes and some insight. So let's bring Bruce on. Let's bring him on. There he is.
Hey, Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
You're muted.
Hello, now I'm not.
Hey, how's it going?
Is that it? You did your whole intro already?
Yes.
We did it. We did it.
So what do we got, like 5 people on here? Who's on here?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm hoping we,
hopefully
a lot of people.
Lots of viewers.
Yeah, hopefully.
Awesome.
This is great. So tell me, so how's everybody over there? Everybody staying well and your family?
Everybody is fine. I'm really glad to be out of that waiting room.
Yeah.
It was getting really stuffy in there.
Well, it's so strange that you can't watch us while you're in the waiting room.
I know, like people have to be, it's like the green room of the Tonight Show.
Yes, you're right.
You're in this like space and there's people typing in like achoo, and then someone else is like, cover your, sneeze into your elbow, and somebody else is typing in, where's your N95,
Oh my God.
It's a wild scene in this, Heather's probably in this room somewhere too, but I can't.
Yes.
So what's going on out there? You're going into the city, you're doctoring these days. What's the word out there?
I'm going into the city. It's a great time to be a commuter if you have to. There's like nobody in the city. There's no cars. It's like an hour door to door in your car. It's like very pleasant commuting in, but when you try to go into like H&H for a bagel and there's other people opening the door, you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. People holding the doorknob, and then you got to hold the door, and then you got to wash your hands and all of that.
Yes.
So, oh yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing that they're doing some great stuff in the city. I'm with New York Hospital. That's like the hospital that I'm affiliated with, and they've got like cafeterias with beds in them. They've got like they've got operating rooms where they're just putting like 2 beds with ventilators instead of doing surgery. They're really very creative. There's all the hospitals are doing this. Brooklyn's doing it. Methodist is doing it. Like they're taking any space they could find and they're just putting ventilators and beds, and fortunately it looks like it's quieting down a little bit, tiny bit.
Hopefully.
Keep our fingers crossed. Yes. Well, thank you. So should we bring on our
so let's bring on our very special guest, our first guest on Songs in the House. She is a professional actress and singer, Heather Mieko Lackey.
Heather, where are you?
Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Welcome
To Songs in the House.
Thanks. I was actually watching it on my phone, and I guess I'm a little behind. So then all of a sudden I looked up and you guys were waving at me.
Well, thank you for being our very first guest.
Thanks for having me.
This is great. So tell me, how are things over there? How are your boys doing? How's everybody?
There's been a lot of fighting today. I think they kind of get a little antsy, and we don't have they don't have their normal schedule, so they're a little, I don't know, restless, and plus they can't get out and play with their other friends, so it's just the 2 of them all the time, and they're close enough in age
How
where
old are they?
Nerves. They're 6 and 8.
Got it.
Both boys. Yeah. So it's a lot, but we're doing fine. We're all healthy, which is
That's
the
great.
thing. So
have to be grateful for that.
Yeah.
Very grateful. So we're so happy to have you here. And
so I'm curious, do you have any stories to share from your career of being a professional actress?
I have a few stories.
Do tell. No one's
So-
listening. It's just us.
It's just us. It's just us. So, well, the one that I have a couple stories from summer stock. When I was in college, and I did a summer in Hampton, New Hampshire. The theater is actually not there anymore because I'm so old that it's gone now. But we were doing a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, and I was one of the courtesans. And I have a couple stories from that show, actually. One of them was, it happened, it was like after one of the first few scenes, and all the courtesans, we came off stage, and one of the women was like, Heather, what time is it? And I was like, it's 3:40. Why? She's like, yeah, because your watch is on. I had this, it takes place in like ancient times. So I had like these snakes on and everything. And then my black Swatch watch was on. So, and then the dresses that they cut for us, they didn't cut it right for some reason. And it kept stretching. So they kept having to take it in all the time because it would just stretch out. And we couldn't wear a bra with it. It was, we were courtesans. So they were kind of skimpy. And during the funeral scene, we're all, flailing on the ground and everything. And at one point in time, I looked down and my whole boob was out. So so I don't know if anybody noticed. I hope I caught it in time where they didn't notice, but
it fit the character.
It fit the character, exactly. So I think that's the only time that that's happened.
A little wardrobe malfunction, as they say.
Yeah. So, but and then other wardrobe malfunctions, like when I was doing The King and I on tour, we were barefoot on stage. So we would all have slippers backstage that we would wear all the time in between the scenes. And there were lots of times where we would accidentally wear them on stage because we would just forget. So we'd be going across in like the funeral march and somebody would have like big puffy pink on their feet. So that happens a lot. Or right before we went on, slippers would come flying off the wings because they would realize, and they just shut them off stage. So,
Yes, fun stuff.
Lots of fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
That's great.
So why don't we get started and
Yeah,
hear
we're
your
here to
first...
hear you sing. So.
Yes.
Sure. So the first song I picked is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I picked this song because one of the wonderful things that I've been seeing around is all the rainbows that people have been putting up everywhere. In my neighborhood, I live in Lake Katona, and people have actually posted rainbows up around the neighborhood. And it's been really lovely to see. My boys and I, we drew some rainbows out on the street. So that's why I picked this song. So, and I'm going to play a track that Bruce made for me. So thank you, Bruce. When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found. Greetings from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Great job.
Fabulous.
Thank
great.
you.
That was inspiring.
Have you been singing a lot during this time?
Not as much as I'd like to. I don't, I'm working and my kids are home and my husband's home. So, I don't have that much time to do that many other things. So not as much as I'd like to. My brother-in-law sent me, I don't know if he's watching or not, but my brother-in-law sent me a text, with all these online courses that we could take if we got bored. And I'm like, we have 2 kids at home all the time. We don't have time to be bored.
It's amazing. Your voice just so amazing. And it's like, it's got, you can't even like slip a tiny bit on this format because you are like all you. It's like almost like a cappella, like you could just hear your voice and like it sounds like a music box in the background.
Yeah.
Well, great, because now I'm going to be really nervous for the next 2 songs. Thanks, Bruce.
You're flawless.
You're flawless.
No,
You're
fantastic.
flawless. So I just want to remind everybody, please donate to White Plains Hospital, frontline workers.
Any amount you can, no pressure. Anything is
$1,
great. Yeah, $1 is
anything.
fantastic.
All you have to do is go on to my YouTube channel, go on to the About section, and you will see the link there of where to donate. And when you donate, please note in the memo section that it's Songs in the House. And I'm gonna read the site as well. It's wphospital.org/COVID-19 help.
And that's in the About section on the YouTube channel. And you could just click the link right there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Heather, would you like to do your next song?
Sure.
No rest.
Yeah.
No rest for the wicked. So this next song was inspired by the quarantine, because I have a feeling that a lot of people feel like singing this song about their spouses or partners at this point in time. I gotta give my life some sparkle and fizz, and think a thought that isn't wrapped up in his. The place that I consider paradise is wherever he ain't. Wherever he ain't. No more to wither when he's grouchy and gruff. No more to listen to him bellow and bluff. Tomorrow morning I'll be strutting my stuff wherever he ain't. Wherever he ain't. Enough of being bullied and bossed. Ta-ta. Avita Zane and get blessed. I walked behind him like a meek little lamb and had my fill of his not giving a damn. I'll go to Sydney or Ceylon or Siam, wherever he ain't, wherever he ain't. It's time for little Nell Tara Bell. If he's in heaven, I'll go to hell. My little love nest was a terrible trap, with me behaving like a simpering sap. And so I'm looking for a spot on the map. If he's going south, I'm going north. If he's going back, I'm going forth. Wherever he aims.
Woo!
Oh, fantastic. Yes, wherever he ain't. He's going upstairs, I'm going downstairs.
If he's going in the kitchen, I'm going in the bathroom. So
Yeah, exactly.
on a serious note, if anybody is trapped with a violent partner, you can call. Is that forwards or backwards?
That's good.
That's forwards. That's
That's
forwards.
forwards.
All right. So you can call 1-800-942-6906. So because, I'm joking about this. My husband and I love each other very much. And most days we get along just fine. But there are times when he wants to go fishing and I'm like, that's a good idea. You should probably go fishing right now. So, because we live in a place where there aren't any people around a lot of the time. So we can get outside.
Absolutely. So Bruce, what do you think? You like Mac and Mabel? Is that,
I plead ignorance. I really like.
okay. You don't know it at all? You didn't see there was just a revival. Wasn't there just a revival that they did recently?
I did not see it. I don't, I can't say I know a whole lot about Mac and Me. There's a few other, what are the other hit songs from there though?
I Won't Send Roses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never really even, I don't think I've even seen a production of Mac and Mabel.
Well, what's your view on Jerry Herman in general?
Jerry Herman will always hold a dark place in my heart. May he rest in peace.
That doesn't sound good.
Jerry Herman is responsible for the best musical of all time not winning the Tony Award, and that would be Sunday in the Park with George, which lost to La Cage aux Folles. I'm sorry, people. That's a major mistake right there.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
I mean, he's very Candor and Ebby,
Yes. It's feel good.
Feel good, kind of showy, yet
Humming the
simplistic.
tunes. You didn't come out humming after Sunday in the Park. But,
No, you didn't. No, that's for sure.
right.
Oh, but it has one of my favorite songs ever, Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
No, I
yes.
love it too.
I
I
love
agree. I love it.
Yeah.
But yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, so I'm also one of those like people who just like can't fathom how Andrew Lloyd Webber got where he got either. But that's me.
Yeah. I'm not a big Andrew Lloyd Webber fan myself.
Back in the the 80s when there was Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis, right? And like you had to, they were both like huge on Broadway at that point, and like you had to decide, what camp am I in?
Camp
Right?
you in, yes.
Like the people who went to the Phantom camp, I basically lost touch with them, never spoke to them again.
Uh-oh.
And the people in the Les Mis camp, still close friends today, like 40 years.
Is our friendship over now, Bruce? I was totally in the Phantom of the Opera camp.
Really?
I wanted to be Christine.
Oh, well, I
I
forgive you. You were young. You were even younger.
Yeah.
I
that
don't
one's
even think I
fine.
was born. Can I just say that? I wasn't born.
You might not have been. Yeah.
You actually might not have been, Heather.
No, I was definitely born.
You were in kindergarten.
I think I was in high school, but yeah.
So while we're on the subject of Broadway, we have some musical theater trivia that we were going to play, Heather. So hopefully you'll know the answers to these questions. Well, the first one, I know your husband was working on the revival of Company.
Yeah.
Right? How is he doing? How is that? What's the status of that? How's that going?
I think the status of Broadway is anybody's guess. So, they said that they're going to start shows again June 7th, but I think that was just kind of a placeholder date. Like they knew that it wasn't going to happen. They had originally said like April 12th or 13th. So I think when they knew that wasn't going to happen, I kind of feel like I have nothing to base this on. I kind of feel like they picked an arbitrary date that was farther away.
Does feel like that.
Because I feel like it's hard when you've got shows that are selling tickets to just say you can't buy any tickets at all. So I think they're kind of setting
good point.
dates. Who knows? I mean, my husband's doing fine. He's homeschooling the kids while I work, so which is
That's
no easy task. So yeah.
So our first trivia question, speaking of company and the revival starting Patti LuPone, our first question is, how many Tony Awards does Patti LuPone have? And for what shows? And I'll give you extra credit if you know the years.
Whoa. I don't even know how many Tonys.
Oh boy, I didn't think this was that hard, sorry.
Well, there's got to be, Evita's got to be in there somewhere.
Evita, and I thought Gypsy, did she win one for Gypsy?
Yes,
Evita.
you got it.
Is
Yes,
that just, are
Two.
it just two?
That is it too, yes.
Okay.
You got it, Gypsy and Evita. Years, Bruce, you got the years for those?
Oh God, Evita. No, I take a guess. Evita.
It's actually
God.
the year after Sweeney,
I was 1981 or something.
80.
80. Okay.
Sweeney was
Yeah.
79.
Gypsy, it was, I would say early 2000s, like 2000.
2008.
2000. Oh, okay. All right.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to move on to our second question.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one I think is going to be a little bit easier. And this actually relates to Jerry Herman. We were talking about Jerry Herman. So the revival of Hello Dolly, which was recent. And who won a Tony Award for Best Supporting Actor?
Gavin Creel.
Oh, that's so.
He's a good
You
friend of
know,
his.
wait a second. I think he's a friend of yours.
He's a friend of mine.
That's right. I had a hunch. Didn't you? Now, did you guys go to school together?
We did. We were in the same class. Mhm.
At University of Michigan, right?
At University of Michigan. Go Blue. So yeah. Mhm.
Excellent. Any Gavin Creel stories?
That I can tell.
Mhm.
You know what? I have a really lovely Gavin Creel story. Years ago, I was probably at my mom's, my house growing up, and I was going through my room and I was going through like a box of stuff from college. And I found a postcard that Gavin had sent me while we were in school. I think it was, I can't remember if it was sophomore or junior year. And he sent me a postcard telling me how wonderful it was to see me blossom that year in our acting class. And he,
So nice.
yeah, like he sent me a postcard while we were both there at school just to tell me like what a great job I had been doing and how he was really enjoying watching me get.
Wow.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. And I don't even remember it at the time, which is horrible of me. But I think, I was really insecure in college, so I probably saw it and it felt really good. And then I went back to being really insecure. But then years later when I found it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that he would have done that for me. So that's a good Gavin
That's a
story.
great story.
That's
Yeah.
very sweet.
I'm really glad for one that we are not talking about medicine, because I got to tell you one thing, like watching all of the stars in the house and Jonathan LaPoop comes on, it's like, God almighty.
That's when you fast
That's
forward.
the snooze part. Yeah.
Is this where we want to get our medical information, number one?
Exactly.
I mean, you could go on Fox, you could find out what a wonderful job Trump is doing handling the crisis. You could go on CNN, you could find out what a horrible job Trump is doing handling the crisis. That's where you can get your information, It's like,
Yes.
really, it's like, we got much more music to talk ratio here on this.
Yes.
All right.
Plus, Debbie, I see a poster of Baby in the background, and that's
Yes. Yes. I knew
Very
you'd appreciate
exciting.
that.
another great show.
You'd appreciate
Mhm.
that for sure.
So Heather, we're gonna play another game.
Okay.
It's called Favorites. So I'm
Okay.
gonna ask you what some of your favorite things about musical theater are.
Okay.
We'll
So-
see if Bruce agrees.
Yeah. So
I'm
Bruce will judge.
not
What
opinionated
you
at
think?
all. So.
No.
So first would be your favorite song, favorite musical theater song.
Oh, that's tough.
Or top three.
Top
if that's
three.
easier. Yeah.
Sunday from Sunday in the Park with George is definitely one of them.
I love you. Awesome.
It's not a song, but the overture to Carousel gets me every time.
Interesting one.
Interesting.
Let's see, top three. I also love the quintet from West Side Story.
Yes,
Mm.
love you. Yes, that's
So
gorgeous.
I think those are three songs that are in my top 10. I mean, there's so many, like you can, shout out some others right now and I'd be like, oh no, I should have said that one. But those are the three that came to mind.
So second is your favorite composer.
Oh, I mean, Sondheim is the one that I automatically think of. I mean, I also love, as everybody does, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes.
Mm.
So, but I mean, Sondheim, I don't know. I'll do top two. Sondheim and Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Bruce, you gonna weigh in on that?
Wow. I mean, you don't even have to talk to me. She got it. She totally nailed it. I'd probably give a shout out maybe to Bring Him Home. From Les Mis.
From Les Mis.
That's one of those things that like every time you see that, and I've probably seen it like 12 times. I mean, it's still, you just stop and stare and you don't move for like a whole 3 minutes, like.
True.
Yes. Well, you actually had a pretty special experience with Bring Him Home.
I did. I saw Cole Wilkinson's last performance.
Oh, wow.
Before he left. And I'm telling you, they did not stop applauding. It was a good 5-6 minutes.
Wow.
It was incredible. After Bring Him Home, it was incredible.
I saw Alfie Bose, I think it was his first performance on Broadway when he came to join the Broadway company. And he got a standing ovation after Bring Him Home that night. So, yeah.
I have to give a shout out to Maltby and Shire. I mean, you mentioned Baby, but I feel like they're underappreciated.
I also love singing Candor and Ebb. I like Jason Robert Brown. I mean, it's hard.
Oh, wow. True.
Yeah.
Love Jason Robert Brown. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a total maniac. He actually just put something on Facebook, and he actually did a recording of When I'm 64 with he plays the piano, and his one of his band mates from Eastman School of Music, like 30 years ago. One of his classmates is now a professor there, I believe, and he's a great sax player. And they did a version of When I'm 64, but it's called When I'm 7/4, and it's in 7/4 time. So it's like da 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 da. Like it just doesn't have the rest in between, So and it's great if you get on there and you see him do that. Like it's just very creative stuff, But yeah, he's a character. He's a pretty.
Well, you know him, so you definitely.
Yeah. I do know him. I'll tell more Jason stories later on if you want to.
All right,
okay.
all right.
Okay.
All right. So the next would be, do you have a favorite actor or actress on Broadway? All time.
All time. There's a lot, but I have to say that one of the things that's been really sad for me right now I didn't get to see Company yet because it hadn't opened yet, and I was going to go opening night. And I love Patti LuPone. Like I know people love her or they're about her. I absolutely love her. When I saw her in Gypsy, I was in like the front row, and during her curtain call, I was bawling. And I was so embarrassed about bawling that I was standing in my seat going, and I felt like I probably looked like I was mean, but I was trying not to cry so much. I love Patti LuPone. I love Mandy Patinkin. I love Sutton Foster. I think her voice is just amazing. Danny Burston. I think he's absolutely amazing. I saw him in The Drowsy Chaperone, and I was like, who is he? Because he's brilliant. Beth Level. I mean, there's just so many.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
And then lastly would be your favorite musical of all time, or top three. Top three.
Sweeney Todd.
Oh yeah.
I loved the Deaf West version of
Big River.
yes. My husband did the tour of that. He's a sound engineer. He did the tour of that, and that was one of the most moving theater experiences ever. And I can't separate the show from that production of it because it was so amazing. So I would put Big River up there just for that reason. Hamilton. I love Hamilton.
Yes, Hamilton. Fantastic.
So I guess if you ask me tomorrow, they'd probably be different ones, but I'm gonna go with those.
The only thing you left out was Bernadette Peters, my love. That's it.
Yes.
Bernadette.
Okay, so great. Would you like to sing your last song?
Sure. So I picked this one. I find it, I feel like a lot of us have a lot of anxiety and stress right now, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And I find that I sing this song a lot to myself to just kind of help myself feel better. And so that's why I picked this song. When you walk through a storm, keep your chin up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky, and the sweet silver song of love. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk
Oh, Heather, you really, that song is so inspiring, and the way you did it was incredible. So moving.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
For having me. Thank you.
Really.
Fantastic.
I
yeah.
love that song, and it's just in these times, like, it really is so much more meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. I sing it in the shower a lot to kind of calm myself down. So,
Yes.
mhm.
Even though we're all alone, we're not alone,
Yeah, I
We're
know.
here. We're just, we're connected. So
Mhm.
so Bruce, anything, I know we don't want to get too medical, but anything you want to add? I know people are talking a lot about testing. What are your thoughts on that? And any thoughts on that? Whether we should be testing more, not testing?
Well, I mean, testing is very important for like the, for the epidemiological part of this, where are the hot spots, what's the recovery rate, how fast is it spreading, what's going to happen if we start like not social distancing again, and then like is it going to start to cluster again, and like testing will help with that part of it. But I mean, honestly, when people are calling me, my second cousin who we were with 3 weeks ago, just tested positive, and I want all my kids in the family tested, and that's the kind of thing I'm coming from. And I'm saying to them, I said, even if your child was sitting home with a cough and 102 fever, I would tell you not to get tested unless you were having difficulty breathing.
Your mic is going out a little.
Yeah, your mic.
A little.
Your
I
mic.
think are you covering your mic?
Can you hear it?
Yes, that's better.
All right. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, unless you are really almost ready to go to a hospital, don't get tested. It's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to change the course of your illness. It's not going to change what you do for your illness. It's not going to change your social distancing. That's what you're doing anyway. You know, so stay home and don't run over to hospitals and, you know, and drive by places to get tested, you know, unless you're really in distress, unless you're having shortness of breath. You know, there's a guy named Mark Price who did a wonderful presentation. He is the head of the adult ICU at New York Presbyterian in Cornell, you know, like on 68th Street, and he runs the whole place. And he's been, you know, just floored by the volume that he's been seeing and the enormity of this whole craziness that we're having. But he simplifies it so easily. He basically says, if you walk away from this presentation with two things: wash your hands, don't touch your face. That's
Okay.
If you can do those two things, your chance of catching this virus becomes negligible, you know. And you know, just keep in mind that in spite of what they say about, you know, some healthy people getting ill with this, it still is, for the great majority, you know, a disease of people with pre-existing conditions and elderly. I've seen barely anybody with this disease, a few teenagers, you know, who barely knew they even had it, you know, and did very, very well. You know, tragically, I did have a teenager who lost his father, you know, which is horrible,
Yes.
you know, unbelievable. You know, when he calls me and says, you know, oh, my dad's, you know, in the ICU and he's on a ventilator, but, you know, he's stable, you know, and then 3 days later he's gone, you know, and, you know, so it's really important to make sure you're not bringing this home to your parents, and, you know, you're keeping parents in different rooms in different houses, and, you know, trying to stay away from them, you know.
Well,
So that's
thank
all
you.
the jargon for today.
Thank you. And my stress relief tip for the day is stay connected. Just like we're doing here, stay connected to your family, your friends, the community, the people you love. Reach out, call them, FaceTime them, Zoom them, but stay connected. We are all in this together.
Yes.
And lastly, again, please, you know, go on the YouTube channel. In the About section, you'll see the link to donate to White Plains Hospital. Frontline workers, we really appreciate everything that they're doing. They're working so hard, and they're our heroes. So
yeah, this has been great. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll have our next show this Sunday at 7 p.m. We'll have two incredibly talented young girls from John Jay High School, Katie Gebbia and Jules Dembo. So tune in Sunday at 7. We'll see you then. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you for
Bruce.
having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.